Bizarre Brain Comics. The king is a fink. The king is a fink. Ha ha. Ha. Hello. Hello. Hey, Gary here for Bizarre Brain Comics. So this is where I like to take a look at some older comics, talk a little bit about the characters, the creators, and then break down the stories and the art. It's mostly with comic books, but yeah. This time I want to talk about a comic strip. You probably got a little hint there. The king is a fink. That is a classic line from this comic strip right here. The Wizard of Id by Brant Parker and Johnny Hart. Yeah, when I go to the Renaissance festivals and they have the parade with the king and all his the queen and all his entourage and everything on parade at the fair. And I'm always out there chanting, "The king is a fink, the king is a fink," and nobody knows what the hell I'm talking about. They're just too young. So let's take a look in the Big Book of Knowledge. We'll get you some little updated here. The Wizard of Id. It's a daily comic strip for the newspapers by Brant Parker and Johnny Hart. It began in 1964, and the cast of characters exists in the screwy medieval kingdom of Id. Now, the Id is a reference to the Freudian psychological term for the base, instinctive, and primitive part of the human psyche. And the strip is syndicated by Creators Syndicate. And in 2002, it appeared in 1,000 papers around the world. So that's not bad at all. I haven't seen anything new in The Wizard of Id in ages, and I didn't know it was still going. Jeff Parker took over the art duties from his father, as Brant, in 1997. And Johnny Hart's grandson, Mason Mastrioni, took over the writing job in 2007 after Hart's death. Then Mastrioni, in 2015, also took over the art duties. I would like to see the new stuff to compare how well they carried through the art style and stuff. Okay, and Johnny Hart is from 1931 to 2007. He's an American cartoonist, co-creator of the newspaper strips BC and The Wizard of Id. He won 5 awards from the National Cartoonists Society. His first work was first published in the Stars and Stripes newspaper while serving in Korea with the U.S. Air Force. And after the war, that's the Korean War, he got cartoons published in the Saturday Evening Post and Collier's Weekly. Now that, for cartoonists, that's the big time. But he was most successful with BC, created in 1957, and then co-creating and writing The Wizard of Id in 1964. Now, Hanna-Barbera, the animation studio, approached him about adapting BC for a TV series. When that fell through, creators at Hanna-Barbera reworked the concept, and the result was the creation of the Flintstones. And he passed away at his drawing table in 2007. At his drawing table, just doing what he loved. It's gotta go. Now, Brant Parker is from 1920, so he was about 11 years older. From 1920 to 2007. And he studied at the Otis Art Institute in Los Angeles and worked at Disney Studios, at the Disney Studio, both before and after World War II. During the war, he served in the U.S. Navy. In 1945, he moved to New York and was an editorial cartoonist, that means political cartoonist, for the Bingham Press. And he met Johnny Hart in 1950 by judging an art contest that Hart was participating in. And their friendship led to The Wizard of Id. He also teamed up with Don Wilder on Goosemeyer, a strip called Goosemeyer from 81 to 83. I'm totally unfamiliar with that. I presume it didn't last that long. And he died in 2007, just a few days after his friend Johnny Hart. So they were there to the end. Okay. Let's go to the Strange Kingdom and visit the Wizard of Id. Okay, there we have the cover of this book. This book was printed in 1988. And it's trade paperback, odd size though. But it's easier to work with than these. These are great for carrying around and reading. Just a few weeks ago, I did an episode about comics in paperback books. And several of the ones that I've got are Wizard of Id. I have some BC. And, of course, a bunch of others. And I love these. These two are more recent acquisitions after I did that episode, I think. But it gives you you can get an idea here of what was like. Frowning at the Jim Jam, fripping in the crots. And that's the wizard casting his spell. Weird stuff coming out of his cauldron. And, of course, help stamp out grapes. That's Bung. He's the court jester and a drunk. And hence the title of this book, Strike the Sot. Because there's Bung trying to entertain. He's obviously drunk. He's besotted. So he is a sot. And then, of course, the king. And the king is cruel and funny at the same time. I'll take a little look. And here, we'll just give you I can't get the thing open. Give you a little view. Strike the Sot. A Wizard of Id collection by Brant Parker and Johnny Hart. Andrews and McKeel. Okay. Of course, I said this was book was from 1988, so it was probably in the earlier 80s that this material is from. And it's just goes. Sometimes that carries with. Sometimes they'll have. There will be several days, several strips that carry on a theme, or have a bit of a running gag for a few days, and most of the time it's just single times. And you know, especially when you're going here for over 60 years, a lot of stuff winds up getting used over and over again. And some strips are funnier than others. Some are just fall flat. It works. I mean, it's to be expected. Halt, who goes there? One pizza with everything for the king. How do I know this isn't a trick? Who else could afford everything? It's for the king. I like this one. Oh, Froggy. And then up from under the lily pad, blub, 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 bonk, bonk. And the frog finally climbs out, coughing and sputtering. This one's got to be a prince. No frog could be that stupid. yeah, because it's the princess kissing the prince and the frog, and he turns into a prince. And here she is again, not quite so princessy. Talking to the wizard. Hi there. I'll bet you don't know where I came from. Hugh Hefner's mother made him clean out his room, which makes sense because she's cartoonish sexy. And for those who are too young to know who Hugh Hefner is, he was the publisher of Playboy magazine for years and years. Here's one with Sir Rodney. Rodney is a dingbat. We'll get some more. This is the Wiz's wife. I'd like a peekaboo nightie. I'm going to surprise my husband. What do you think, dear? She shows this skimpy little thing. I hope he's got a strong ticker. There's one with Sir Rodney. There goes the wealthiest doctor in town, and he only works 1 day a week. Then how come he's so wealthy? He works on Wednesdays. Now, in case, especially younger people may not get that, but it used to be an old joke that almost all doctors had Wednesday off. It was their golf day. I don't think that still carries through so much now like it used to. Here we go with the king and bung. How does one determine a vintage wine? There's 3 criteria. First, the appearance. Second, the aroma. And finally, the taste. Well, is that vintage you're drinking? Beats me. I always skip the first 2 tests. He goes straight to the test, to the drinking, to the tasting. Some others. Let's see. Look, sire, they've named a drink after you. King Id Special, 35 cents. Wonder why it's so cheap. Lips don't unpurse. It's so cheap because the king is so cheap. Oh, guys in the dungeon. Where did you hide the money? Give me a break. Don't rush me. Meaning he's going to. How do we tell the good mushrooms from the bad ones? I'm not sure, but there's one bunch to steer clear of. And that's the bunch of mushrooms that has the vultures hovering around it. Now, they had a nice light, very loose art style, not just with the characters, but for the backgrounds and the sets and stuff. It was easy to read, the art, and everybody looked funny. Everybody looked funny. I'm stiff as a board, Doc. How did you sleep? Like a log. I think we're on to something. He's stiff because he slept like a log. Observe, sire, the mouse injected with Formula A finds his way through the maze to freedom, 10 times faster than the other mouse. Amazing! What's in Formula X? Mineral oil. Because that acts as a fast, like a fast-acting laxative. That's why he's getting through the maze. And the whole thing, it's got 60 years of stuff like this. This character here, he's a lawyer. I've forgotten the lawyer's name, but he's loosely based on. Oh yeah, it's My Little Chickadee. That's an old actor known for being drunk. I suddenly cannot think of his name. It'll come to me. I want to leave all my millions to my cats, to my 15 cats. I could be tied up in court for years with a will like that, and I want to leave my cats to you. Of course, I could lay a cat or 2 on his honor. Because if he's got the cats, he got the money. Halt! Who goes there? We seek refuge in the land of Id. Well, you've come to the right place. That's refuge. I read it wrong. We seek refuse in the land of Id. I screwed the whole thing up. Halt! Who goes there? We seek refuse in the land of Id. Well, you've come to the right place. That's refuge. Saying that it's trashy. Like I said, easy to read. Normally, 3 panel per strip. So you have a setup, the gag, and the punchline. 2 panel setup and punchline. Of course, here in this book, they're able to do the whole strip as one unit, whereas in these old books they had to break them down. This particular one had 4 panels in it, so it was 1 strip per page. But it's all a lot of fun, and I think that's all I'm going to show. We'll get some more of these humor strips, and might be worth picking up the newspaper again just to check out the comic strips, your humor strips. I like adventure strips, and they don't exist anymore, with a couple of rare exceptions. But the humor strips are still out there. They may not be quite as funny as they used to be because, well, for various reasons, and but they're still out there. And there are a lot of fun, especially if you get to read them in a bunch at a time. Whereas one might not seem so funny on its own. When you read it amongst a bunch, especially if they're kind of interrelated, you can see it better. And I really enjoy reading these old comic strips. We'll revisit newspaper comic humor strips another time. But that's all for now. Thank you for joining me. Please like, share, subscribe, leave a comment. I appreciate everything, and join me again. Remember, comics are art.